Welcome to the Halloween Marathon of 2022.
In the early 90s, FMV games were the next big thing. Only they weren't, at least not yet. But the companies, they kept shoving them down our throat. Grainy video? Tough, you're gonna like it. Small windows on the videos? Tough, you're gonna like it. Gameplay out the window. You know what? But once in a while, some good games snuck by the majority of mediocre FMV games. This game I will be talking about next, alongside Myst and Star Wars Rebel Assault, revolutionized the CD-ROM gaming landscape in 1993. This is Seventh Guest. Developed by Trilobyte and published by Virgin Interactive Entertainment, it was one of the first games to be developed only on CD-ROM, due to the extensive use of full motion video to tell the story. And it's a pretty good story. The game begins with a flashback. In it, you find out that a man named Henry Taff killed a woman while robbing her back in the 1930s.
Moving from town to town, robbing a gas station here, a grocery store there, until one night. She was coming home from choir practice, but she never got there. Stoff took her purse and ran away. This meant Stoff had to run and hide. He sunk even lower. He had nothing. No life, no possessions.
For some reason, he has a vision of a doll after the murder, and soon he begins to make toys. He becomes successful enough that he builds a mansion at the edge of town, but the toys he started making make children sick. After this incident, Henry Stoff disappears. When the game finally begins, after a very, very long intro, you find yourself inside the mansion.
How did I get here? I remember nothing.
You start to get visions, and one of them is of 6 guests who were invited to the mansion years ago, shortly after the deaths of the children. Eventually, the guests find out that a 7th guest was required to be in the mansion as well. Now, before I go on, let me just mention this. Spoilers ahead. So if you want to play this game and avoid huge story spoilers, skip ahead to, tomorrow's video. Eventually, all the guests succumb to the traps and puzzles left by Henry Stoff until there are only 2 of them left. One of them is a kid named Tad. In the end, you find out that you are the spirit of the 7th guest, Tad, and that Henry Stoff needed his soul to complete a pact he made with a demon. Don't ask. The gameplay is basically you exploring the mansion and having visions about the guest while solving puzzles on your own. There are 21 puzzles in total. As you solve the puzzles, you get a cinematic that progresses a story about the guests and the mansion, and it might throw a hint or 2 in there about what to do next.
Dear Mr. Dutton, welcome to my house. The arrangement is simple. You are to spend the night as my guest.
Puzzles range from dividing cake pieces to chessboard games and even looking through telescopes.
You'll need more than lenses to focus your thoughts on this one.
The cinematics were all made with actual actors, something that was not seen during the early days of PC gaming. And the game, it came on 2 CD-ROMs. It was unheard of.
You are? I know who you are! You're the 7th guest! And what I just saw! Now I understand! Oh, sweet mercy, I understand!
Mister, I'm sorry. I just came here. They dared me.
The king? You're the one!
I'm gonna leave, Mister.
No, Don't run away, please! Don't run away! Don't go! Don't go!
The graphics while you wandered through the mansion were done in 3D, and there is somewhat of an upgrade from the game Myst. The puzzles were also in the same graphical style as the rest of the game. And this title was a sight to behold when it was released. The introduction of CD-ROM gaming allowed developers to achieve things that were unheard of just a few years prior to 1993. It is said that the game was a very big reason for the surge of CD-ROM game sales afterwards. While I don't take anything away from this game at all, I think this would have occurred naturally as the technology shifted rapidly in the mid-90s. The pacing is slow, but if you like puzzle games mixed in with a little bit of horror and mystery, Seventh Guest was pure gaming heaven. And honestly, I wish I would have played it back then when it was released, as I feel I would have enjoyed it much more since looking at it now, having lived through all the gaming advancements over the years. I feel my initial reaction to it to be somewhat affected by that experience. But you know what? The game gets a 10 for me in terms of graphics. The developers used the technology they had at hand and combined that with live actors to bring us a very creepy and well executed story that revolved around the mansion and its owner, Henry Stoff. It's like watching a movie, but there is enough left afterwards to make the game highly enjoyable. Being able to wander the mansion and solve puzzles is more than enough gameplay, considering that most FMV games of the time relied more on the wow factor than on gameplay factor. In fact, most FMV type games back then were just you watching a video and pressing a button or a direction to input something to happen on the screen. That was it. Seventh Guest changed all that greatly. So for gameplay, this game gets a solid 8. It doesn't stray too far from its formula due to the technological limitations, but what it does quite well. So Seventh Guest gets a 8 on the Halloween meter. It revolutionized FMV games, it came with a great storyline, overall good puzzles, and it's a great game to play during the Halloween season. If you've never played this one before, give it a try. It's available on Steam, Apple App Store, as well as GOG. And it's cheap too. So, join me tomorrow to take a look at an arcade that scared the living shit out of me as a kid. No joke, I almost crapped my pants on this one.
Come back!